Hey dudes!
Morning, guys.
So welcome to episode number 4 of Get to Know Us. What are we talking about today?
Today we will tell you why we chose coming to countryside, and why such change from living in a city and living in a tropical island to Latvia's countryside. So very pleased to let you know. What else? Today we have a bit cloudy and rainy, so it's perfect time to sit down and maybe talk a little bit.
We found the best possible place where it would be the least windy. So since probably the storm is gonna hit us in next couple of minutes, let's just start with a couple of reasons why we chose a country life after all our adventures.
So for me, I guess if I want to start the story, I need to go back to my childhood. I was growing up in countryside, so most of my life I was roaming around freely. I guess that kind of stuck with me because when I was a kid, I remember that all the summers grandma was planning things like vegetables, carrots, whatever you can grow in the countryside. And also we would have strawberries. And as a kid, you don't really need much, so you would just eat a couple berries and run around. I was growing up with my older sister, so we would just roam freely, I guess. So there's just like kind of always that sense of freedom that you can just go outside and, I don't know, dig or climb or whatever you can do.
It's true. Well, I lived most of my childhood, I guess, in the city. But I only had the countryside experiences in the summer, similar to you. When I would go to my grandparents, to their countryside, and that was probably, as you said, I felt most free because I couldn't wait for the summertime, because then I would spend maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a whole month just chilling in the countryside, maybe with a friend, maybe with my little cousin or my older sister if they joined, until they became teenagers and that wasn't cool anymore.
No one goes to countryside anymore.
Yeah, but I was allowed to do whatever I want, as you said. Just eat a couple of berries, maybe one super green apple, and you could run around the whole day. I could make little bonfires, I could make tree houses, just like do whatever I want. There was so much freedom because in the city, especially as a child, there's not much to do. There's not much to do. Everything's very limited. So yeah, maybe that was something that hinted me to the countryside. But I always thought that I would end up living in an apartment in a big city. Like that's what I thought I would do. I never imagined myself in the countryside.
For me, then after the childhood, I was moving away. Oh, it started raining. We'll film a rain after. I was moving away from the countryside when I started to study, so I moved to Riga, which is the capital of Latvia. So that's pretty much where my countryside life ended, and I was in the dorm room and I was locked in. And well, thankfully I was able to live alone because I started to work, and so I was able to pay for my room so no other people would be involved. So that was a huge upgrade for me. But anyway, living in this city in the room is not the same experience as living in the countryside and doing whatever you want. So I felt trapped. It took me a long time to adjust how it is to just like be in the city, not being able to just like walk around naked ass if I want to. I mean, pretty much in the city you are accustomed to a norm, so you have to dress certain way, you have to act certain way. I remember that I could spend couple days without even leaving the apartment or the room because I didn't need to go outside, whereas in here I go outside every day. First of all, there's outhouse, so I have to go out, but overall it just feels like living here in the countryside would be completely different experience because you can just walk around and be free.
I never felt that because I never really experienced that countryside freedom that much when I was in my teenage years. So I didn't feel like I'm trapped because I guess, if an animal is raised in a cage or in a zoo, you don't really know the outside world. You don't know what you're missing. But then, when we lived in Malta, COVID started, and then I started realizing what it is like when you're told that you're not allowed to go outside anymore. I mean, we were quite lucky because we had a balcony.
We had quite a big space. Like the apartment was pretty big. We were living alone, so we had space.
But it's obviously not like, yeah, you can walk around your balcony, but you
right.
you kind of want to, like, you realize the value of being able to be outside more than just the balcony.
Right.
And then we always considered that we should buy some kind of property, but in the beginning it was always just an apartment.
We never had any money.
Yeah, so we were just like, maybe one day when we're old we would be able to afford an apartment or something like that. Like maybe, but then this idea started coming up that maybe we could just, like, I don't know, get some kind of small countryside land. And
exactly, it kind of grew on us while we were in Malta, especially in the January. I think was the breaking point where we not only dream about having a house, but we were actually starting to plan how we would have one, because obviously we didn't have that much money either to just go out right buy a house and just move back to Latvia. But that's pretty much where we started the idea of maybe dreaming about an actual property, because we were starting to look at the prices. We were starting to consider moving back here because that was the realistic idea, to buy something in Latvia, because everywhere else it's insane.
Yeah, and when we decided that maybe one day we would come back, we realized that none of us really have like a place to just like go.
Yeah.
Like we don't have like a home, a place to call a home. And then I think the countryside house thing happened because we did have some savings. We were always saving some money for
whatever reason.
Yeah, and then it just hit us that actually, if you decide to move far away from the city and you're not expecting much, you can actually afford a countryside house. So yeah, maybe we needed to save more than we
started definitely we started saving a lot more money than we did before, or maybe a lot more thoughtfully. Do you hear the rain?
I hope the rain doesn't disturb the video, but
no, I think it gives you the countryside peace. So, and then the obvious next step was to maybe get something that we could afford, because housing in Malta is incredibly expensive, especially if you have a rental property. So half of your take-home pay would be your rent. And for me, I wanted to something that would be my own, so I don't have to depend on these expenses as much.
Yeah, and also the whole, like, the COVID thing, when there was food was scarce, this is scarce, everyone is panic buying.
Supply chains, everything, whatever.
Yeah, so we both kind of felt like, well, maybe it would be good to, I don't know, at least if we could own our own property and maybe grow our own food. So then it kind of linked with the fact that you can't really do it in an apartment. So
yeah,
maybe
you gain some kind of independence.
Yeah, so maybe a little house with a little garden so we could grow some food, and if something similar happens, we could be more dependent on ourselves.
And even if nothing happens, it's still nice to have your own garden and just pay less for food from the supermarket and just have your own from the garden, I guess.
Yeah, and then we obviously researched a lot on YouTube, and it kind of like, we felt like this is something that we see ourselves in.
I guess what I wanted to say while you said that we were researching things, to me it helped a lot to watch YouTube videos like this one, for example, because we found simple living and similar thinking people online. So that kind of inspired me to try myself, because I never thought I could just like buy a house and start living there. It was kind of scary. And obviously there's a lot of things that you need to consider, but once you see someone else doing it, it feels more easy.
Doable, yeah. And also when we lived in Malta and the COVID thing happened and everything like that, we both had one period of time when we both felt like we really don't want to spend time working in an office anymore. I guess we both had really bad experiences, but we realized that we want to get out of it. And as you said, then we watched YouTube videos of people who just did it, like
Off-grid living, and of course off-grid would be a bit more extreme. We're not on that level,
but yeah, it just felt like some people, if you downsize your expenses as much as you could, and then like the simple living, minimalism, all these things became interesting. That if your expenses are super low, you don't necessarily need a real job anymore.
right.
And at that point, for both of us, that felt like, yes, this is exactly what we want. So what can we do? How can we make that happen for ourselves?
So I'm pretty happy that we essentially bought our time back. Of course, there's a possibility that you would need to work at some point in your life. What we have a plan for this, obviously, we would like to do our YouTube channel. So that would be working for ourselves to grow the business side of the YouTube. But other than that, we would work on our house and our garden. So
yeah.
I'm not saying we're not working at all, just lazy, sleeping in the bed all day. It's just like working for ourselves and renovating the house and working on the garden, growing the food kind of work, I guess.
Exactly, and that's another way we would downsize our expenses, because
At the same time.
yeah, because countryside gets quite cheap.
Countryside is really cheap, whereas in the city you always need this and that, and then you have your heating costs, and then you have your rental costs. Obviously this is free, we don't have to pay for rent. So far we still have to pay for food because nothing other than leeks is growing, and rhubarbs. We have rhubarbs now.
Yes, and the tiniest dill that can't be eaten yet. But yeah, the heating is for free because we have our own woods and a small forest. Like that, because we're in our
There's more.
we're in our barn where we keep our wood from the rain. So yeah, that gets super cheap. We use barely any electricity because it's quite light here.
Yeah.
Because in the city you have buildings all around you, so once the sun starts to set a little bit, it's shadows everywhere and it gets darker.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we save a lot of money here.
I think we spent literally next to nothing. I think later in the summer when we have our own potatoes and cucumbers and vegetables, it will be hilarious. I want to make an update video of cheap living in the countryside. How cheap does it get? But that's for the future. We will definitely do one, maybe in July.
Yeah, after in the harvest season we can do a month without spending anything.
Or just as little as possible, right?
Yeah, and when we talk about expenses, another thing is clothing.
Right.
Yeah, because something that I noticed in the country is, first of all, we bought cheap clothing, second-hand clothing that's cheap as nothing. All our clothes cost like 30 to 40 cents. Or
exactly.
On a bad day, they cost €1. So, but also you can use them a lot longer than in the city. For example, I have a little paint stain.
We all do. I mean, once you start restorating something, everything gets...
Yeah, but in the city, obviously, you're not gonna walk around in trousers or
dirty clothes.
Yeah, like just because it has some paint stain, because that's not a norm. That's not up to standards. But yeah, you can wear your clothes a lot longer, and then you can. Like once they're completely terrible, you can reuse them, and that's how I feel about a lot of things here. Like we are a lot less wasteful than I thought we would be, like as we are in the city, because all our food waste becomes compost that we'll use on our garden, so there's no waste there. Paper kind of garbage or waste we need to start our fire, so that gets used. So yeah, it's like it does feel like more things can be used a lot more here.
I also feel like you don't have to worry as much about your appearances. Here, because you walk outside, there's no one there, so you don't necessarily need to brush your hair if you don't want to, or you don't necessarily need to put on the makeup. I'm not the girl who uses a lot of makeup anyway, but if you are a girl who uses a lot of makeup, there's no need to do it here, so you have more free time, because it doesn't matter whether you use it or not, because you walk outside, you're just by yourself. So I guess the same thing about the clothes. You don't need to steam them, you don't need to iron them. As long as you have anything to put on, it's great. Especially now that it's a bit colder, you just like snug up all your old jumpers, and it doesn't even matter if they have those bubbles or not. And you just need it for warmth, and so you kind of forget about how you're looking. So me, for example, I feel a lot less anxious because I am the kind of down to myself person, so for me it's also hard to go into society and just like meet new people and be, I guess, outgoing. So for me it's great, I don't have to do that here. There's literally no one talking to me. So in the city I feel anxious even to go at the checkout, because I think people are looking at me. Do my hair look good? Am I like, I don't know, acceptable? So I have all these things in my head. But here I feel really free, so I can go to outhouse and back and no one's there, so I'm happy.
When you say how much you care about how you look, I think everyone does in the city, and that kind of for me leads to like consumerism, because you start comparing yourself to everyone else, and then you might not feel good enough or wealthy enough, and then you start like that's where you need this kind of full-time job situation, so that you can just buy more and more and better and look better than others, or feel, or like there's all these fancy cars and people are using their fancy phones, and this is new, and all these ads on the street, and it just feels like you kind of feel like inadequate that you don't have those things. But here in the countryside, who am I gonna compare myself to? This tree or that bird that flew past? Like, I don't care. I feel a lot more free, and I don't care about buying or leading into and becoming part of the economy and capitalism, so that like I would buy and buy and buy and feel like I have enough.
I wanted also to say that in the morning when I come outside, I feel so much like, I don't know, nature. It's just so fresh when I go outside, even if it's not sunny. If it's sunny, then it's magical. But if it's cloudy and if it's just after rain, it just smells so beautiful. Like, you can smell all the trees. Like, we didn't know that apple trees had a smell, and they do.
It's true.
They smell like roses, and it's really nice.
Every time we arrive here, I open the car door and I'm like, oh my god, they're so fresh. You don't even really think that air can be fresh or not.
One other benefit that someone wouldn't necessarily expect to solve is anxiousness, because as I mentioned, I am quite anxious person, and maybe just like more anxious than others. So I feel in the city I feel a lot of bad moods. And here I've noticed that I get them less. I do get them sometimes though. I do feel sometimes more sleepy than I should, but in the city I feel like 10 times more. So here I have more energy to do even the little things, because sometimes I can just spend a day in the bed in the city, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal for me to just like watch some videos, drink some tea, and just like sit around doing nothing. But here I feel like I have more energy, and I have more I feel more happy here, probably for the same reasons, because I don't have the comparison. I don't have to maybe necessarily put up the persona to just like fit in with everyone, so that helped me.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm that much anxious. Maybe I would go depressed. Like I kind of suffered from depression, like especially in Scotland. Like that was my word. And back in Latvia before I moved to Scotland, it was quite bad. Malta helped a little bit because it was sunny, but then you kind of get used to it. And but the thing with here is, I think we're too busy with and productive with doing something that we don't really have that time to just, as you said, lay in the bed for a whole day and think about.
Be miserable.
Yeah, because if you work in an office, like maybe it's like mentally hard job, but like physically you're just sitting in a chair for the whole day. You come home late in the evening, yeah, you're kind of
You're
like,
tired from the day, but other
not
than
not
that.
physically tired. So you kind of lay in the bed for the next 2 hours and be like, oh, this is shit.
For me also, I can say that here when I've done something, even a little thing, even if I plant carrots, I feel such joy because I feel such accomplishment. So even the whatever we're doing, and we're doing like 10 things a day usually, so it's like little bits of this and that, and then the feel of achievement, and then I just feel happy that that's for the future. That will make my life a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's the main difference, because we're actually doing things. As you said, it's planting a carrot or building something or gathering firewood so that the house is warm. It's more...
Or cooking here, actually. When we cook snacks like croutons, like the dried breads, I just put them in the oven and the whole house starts smelling like the bread. Or if we bake potatoes just on the stove top, it's like underneath there's fire, so you can just like relax and you have the warmth coming on you, so it's like really nice. And so the house smells, or it's like, it's just like, I don't know, so different and
more rewarding.
Yeah, that's for
like
sure.
Everything here feels more rewarding, and I guess that's why like these kind of bad feelings kind of disappear and go away, because right now we're having a quite a rainy, I would say a bad day, but I'm fine.
So rainy.
Yeah, we're laughing, we're feeling fine, and because there's so much to do, and all the things that we do we feel proud of, in a way that we're like achieving things, because you go to a job, obviously you earn money, that's good, like
it wasn't the answer, at least for us, definitely. So here I feel we don't earn as much or nearly as much as we did when we actually worked in Malta, but here the money doesn't matter as much. I can sleep peacefully because I don't have to worry about paying my rent. House is paid, so we did a great job. We saved up when we paid the house. We don't have to pay rent. So worst comes to worst, we only have to pay for food.
If we keep on going with our gardening
and growing,
if that's successful, then we'll have food until like hopefully middle of winter. If we cook the food and prepare it in jars and stuff like that.
As long as we can prepare our own food, we're just like also preparing a peace of mind, because you don't have to stress so much where's your food coming from, where's your bills coming from. Our bills are literally the electricity bill that we haven't received yet because the month is not ended, but it will be literally just like 10-20 euros, so it's fine. And other than that, the summer is coming, so the heating won't be necessary.
Yeah, so there's incredible amount of benefits for, at least for us, because I do read the comments, and some people are like, why in the hell would you move to a countryside and in middle of nowhere? Why don't you just, I don't know, rent an apartment or buy an apartment in a small city if you want? And it's like, that's not the point.
It's not the point.
Like, we could if we wanted, but like, I guess it's not for everyone. Some people just can't imagine a harder life like this because it's not as convenient. No cinema, no shops, no coffee shops, no Apple shops or whatever.
Right, exactly. Because some people really need to go outside to the malls or just like go to the shopping center, try 10 things on, don't buy anything, and then just go home. For me, I don't need that, so I'm happy to be here. Also, I've heard like people saying, you're just looking for an easy life kind of thing, but I don't see why wouldn't you look for easy life. Why would you want to work 40 plus hours as if that's your achievement, being in a workplace for someone else for like all your life until you retire? I don't know why this just so unusual to me. I'm like, it's normal to have your time back.
Yeah, aren't everyone like feeling great when they have a vacation and they're doing nothing, you know?
Oh, finally the weekend. Oh, it's the Friday. We all are like that, or you're just pretending. I don't know.
Yeah, so like it's not for everyone. A lot of people enjoy their jobs and that's totally fine, but like this hustle mentality, just keep working and working and working, and then like
spending on new cars and phones and stuff.
It just it doesn't make sense to us. And I rather, like, I don't know, at least as long as this is possible, just take time off from busy city life and consumerism and just
Try
and
your own thing.
yeah, and just see where this leads us. And yeah, for now I think we're feeling great.
So for us, this is what we chose for now. I'm not saying that maybe this is forever or whatever, so we never know what we're doing. But we will update you in a month's time, and then maybe in the 6 months how we're feeling here. So far it's going great. There's a lot of scary things that we don't know about. There's also a lot of unexpected happy things that we also didn't know about. We're just keep discovering our house, everything that's been planted here before us. We're very lucky to have this property pretty much set up for a homestead already. We have fruit trees, we have rhubarb growing, so we're just like inherited all these things from the previous owners, which is like each day we find some new things. Like yesterday I just found that we have hazelnut trees growing. So we don't even need to buy these. We bought that little plant, but now it's just like we had them all along. So it's just so interesting to be here and discover.
Yeah, so we both hope that it's interesting for you as well. So also let us know what you think. What kind of life fits you well? Are you a city person or you're...
Would you be ready to move to the countryside?
Yeah.
If you liked this kind of video, we also have our Patreon page if you want to support us in any way. We also upload there. You can go check those videos out.
And if you want to follow our journey here and watch more of the videos like this one, then you could subscribe. And I guess we'll see you in the next video.
We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.